Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast courtesy of Popluck. You can find more episodes of Spoiler Force Podcast on Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, YouTube, or on Facebook at facebook.com/popluckpodcast.
What's going on? This is LP, and you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast.
This is episode 43 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky and thank you for tuning in. So this week's episode is completely last minute due to the fact that there was a guest change, as in there is no guest for this episode. Due to scheduling conflicts, I was not able to secure the guest that I originally intended for this episode. I did put the disclaimer subject to change as well at the post on Facebook on Popluck's page. I mean, this stuff happens all the time. Usually with guests, I do try to reach out like months, or even I think the soonest I've ever reached out to a guest was like a week. But then usually that's because like they have time or we're able to work things out. But usually when it's a big guest or a guest with a huge following, I do try to book them, or not necessarily book them because I don't pay them, but then I do try to get them on the podcast like roughly a month ahead. But you know, schedules are never secure. It's always something coming up. There's nothing wrong with what happened recently. It was just a bit upsetting, only because I was really looking forward to having the guest on for this week, and I felt like they could have had I felt like there was so much I could get out of the podcast with that guest, you know, like just the stories, the experience, pretty much things that I know that the general public or even fans of Spoiler Force Podcast would be interested in. But that's okay. I already spoke with the guest. Hopefully in the near future we can probably book something again or schedule something soon for the guest if you're still interested. If you do want the guest back on the podcast or Spoiler Force, let me know in the comments in the description, not description, but let me know in the comments in the video for the YouTube channel or on Popluck's page, or message me on Popluck or through popluckpodcast@gmail.com, or direct message me through Instagram at rickyvang92. Those are the ways you can reach out to me and give me your input, ideas, critiques, future guests, if you will. But that's enough about that topic. I've been not so much stressed, but I've been irritated a little bit just because I was trying to figure out how to do this episode, because I did have like a backup plan kind of, but then I wasn't able to get any last minute guests. It was just really hard within like a 12-hour notice window. A lot of close friends of mine, they were all busy and everything too. They all have projects and everything. Speaking of projects, I do want to shout out my boy T Yang. He has an art page called T Yang's Art on Instagram and on Facebook. It's spelled TEEYANGSART, T Yang's Art. He is a sketch artist. I think he does like he draws photos of like celebrities or people in anime as well. He finally got his pages running because it's been years. Me and our close friends, we have this group chat, and we've been telling him, you know, he's extremely talented. Both him and his brother can draw, but then T has been more, I guess, expressive with his drawing and sharing, and it's what he goes to find like relaxation time or something like that. But yeah, he's very talented. He's starting to do like color pencils and markers. He recently bought a very expensive set of colors. I look forward to his drawings. Everything is done by hand. Hopefully in the future he can do prints and everything and possibly get booths for smaller Comic Cons or something and sell his art. And if you did see my Instagram, again, it's RickyVang92. My niece, she did I believe it's called a stillable, or it's called, let me just look up the word. It's called the stippling project, or a stippling art style of work. It's when an artist uses a dark ink pen and just pretty much dots the paper into a overall drawing. She just did a stippling artwork of Dobby from My Hero Academia, who's one of the villains of the of the series, he's possibly a Todoroki. If you didn't know, Todoroki is a family in the My Hero Academia group. Shoto, most recognizable, is the half and half ice, half fire. His father, Endeavor, is one of the main characters. He is recently now the #1 hero in the show. He has the Hell Flame quirk, which is pretty much fire bending. But he can also increase the temperature of his flames to where it's blue, and that's where the key clue is, or the hidden gem, I guess you can say, that Dabi possibly might be his son as well, because Dabi's quirk is called cremation, but then he creates blue flames, or he constantly has blue flames, which means it's always hot, which is why the character design for Dabi is always like he's burned up and scarred because of his own flames. But the rumor is that they're possibly father and son. He's possibly Shoto's oldest, I believe, oldest brother. If you read the manga, then you would understand where this is coming from. But I'm not going to get into detail about the manga today, or not on this episode. But in future episodes, I will get back into reviewing and talking about my theories and what I thought about recent mangas, because I've been reading a lot of Demon Slayer, My Hero, One Punch Man, and Attack on Titan, as always. I have a bunch of notes written down. I got to find a way how to review these, because it's like chapters on chapters, and I can't go through with the breakdown of every single one of them. So I might just do a general wrap up of each of these episodes. So today's episode, I wrote the topic here late last night, around 3 a.m. Yeah, I was up late. I only had like less than 3 hours of sleep, and I also just chugged down a Red Bull, and I'm drinking Mountain Dew Kickstarter, the fruit punch one. Shout out to Pepsi products, and please give me a sponsor if you do listen to this. But anyway, so I'm like full of sugar right now, and I guess with the topic with today, kind of goes hand in hand with the experience that just happened within the past 24 hours. Again, not that it's a bad one. I was a little bit salty at first. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit salty because of this lineup that I had for the podcast for Spoiler Force. It was pretty much a Avengers type lineup. If you really look at the guest list I had, again, I had Zhonglu lined up. I had Jur and Van Brooks for set up for next Friday to record, which the episodes will be released on Sundays. Which that's going to be the common thing now, where episodes will be released on Sundays, and then recording dates are going to be earlier so that I can have time to edit. But yes, so episodes are on Sundays. Jur and Van Brooks on next Friday to record, and then the week after, I'm going to be recording with Chinchilla, and then the week after that is with Kenji Her. It's a very stacked guest list if you look at it. You know, they are very well-known artists or content creators in the Hmong community, and Kenji is an up-and-coming Hmong singer as well. His recent cover of Intentions by Justin Bieber was released earlier, I believe this week or last weekend, around that time. But he's very talented as well, and he's, to me at least, he's a standout artist. And I'm very excited for the other guests that are currently scheduled. Hopefully nothing happens. I might be jinxing myself right now, but if something does happen, then what can I do, right? I always have a lot of material to go over. Let's just get through this main topic, right? So it's only one main topic that I have today. Again, this is completely last minute. I wrote this late last night. You know, I was thinking through my experiences and trying to think more positively after what happened within the past 12 to 24 hours. And you know, I feel like this is not the worst thing that's happened to me. I should be grateful that I was given the opportunity to even converse or be in the same social media as these artists or content creators or entrepreneurs or whatever. Because honestly, I'm a nobody compared to these people. I'm just someone who's starting a podcast with a group of friends that our page just reached to 500 likes. Now, it's a big milestone for me. But when you really look at it, it ain't that much. It ain't all that. And I do have some updated news I will be sharing for Spoiler Force in the near future as well. Probably around the 50th episode. So stay tuned for that too. Today's topic is the worst or most embarrassing experiences in my life. I wrote this down in my notes, so I'm gonna try my best to not sound like I'm reading, but I did write down a lot of general points too. So again, this is the worst or embarrassing moments in my life. So I'm gonna go through some of the times that I've gone through something that's much worse than what's happened before. And I only do this because it helps me to realize that life isn't that bad. And I know that there's people who go through things that are much worse than what I go through, and it makes me look kind of ignorant about their problems. But for me, I guess for myself, really, it's a mental thing, and yeah, even emotional sometimes, and I do let the emotions get the best of me, and I do kind of act rash at times, and kind of just because I'm so blunt naturally that I just do things without thinking, and I just rush into it headstrong, and so I got to stop getting so aggressive at times. But yeah, this is the worst or most embarrassing experiences in my life. And these are just small, or these are just other moments that's happened. I've had worse things happen than this, but I felt like some of these topics that I wrote down are either pretty hilarious or relatable in some sort of way. This first scenario, I was around the age of 6 or 7, around there, first or second grade. And if you live in the Michigan area, you should know where Mount Clemens is at. It's where the Valley Drive apartments are at on Groesbeck, around there. I believe it's like around 18 Mile. I forgot what that main road is where Groesbeck crosses, but it used to be where that Farmer Jack used to be at. If you don't know what Farmer Jack is a old grocery chain store, kind of like I guess you could say it's kind of like Kroger's, but it's not around anymore. But Farmer Jack's, and I feel old when I say Farmer Jack because I remember like the orange roof and the farmer face with the cowboy hat or the farm hat, and it was me, my mom, and my sister, and and we were at the store. My mom was cashing out, so me and my sister took some coins, and we went to those little machines that you put the 25-cent in to get like the toy or the candy. And my sister at the time, she was very little, and she was very slick for being a little kid. She was like, "Look, Ricky, look what I can do," right? So she puts her hand inside the entrance where you get the toy, where the toy falls out, that little flip metal door or whatever. I'm doing the best to describe it, but like it's that little thing where the toy comes out. So my sister sticks her hand in there. Through some miracle, she was able to pull out a toy without paying. So my jealous ass, I was like, you know what, I'm about to do that too, watch. And I do it. I put my hand in there. I realize my hand is a little bit too big. So I kind of tug my hand out, and then I tug my hand, and I keep tugging and tugging, and I'm like, oh shit. In my head, I'm a child, so I don't think I'm saying oh shit, but in my mind at this time, when I'm thinking back to it, I'm like, is my hand stuck right now? Is it really stuck at this point? My little sister's looking at me. She's like, trying to see what's wrong. I start freaking out, and as dramatic as I am back then, I'm still a little bit like that now. And I guess what really got to me was the fact that there was eyes on me, and now I'm like, oh shit, there's eyes on me. My hand is stuck, and I look stupid. And that's one of my biggest fears in life, is like looking stupid in public. And this goes a long way with like why I'm so reserved at times, or if I'm in a social group and I don't talk, is because I'm afraid of looking stupid. But anyways, I realize the eyes are on me. I look stupid, and I start tugging and tugging. I start panicking and getting emotional, and I start freaking out, and I'm like, oh my god, and my mom comes rushing over. She's like trying to get my hand out, and now everyone's looking, right? Because now you got this Asian woman trying to get her son's hand out the little toy machine. The manager comes in, and he's like, oh my god, what's wrong? And my mom's like, oh my god, we're gonna be on the fucking news, we're gonna look so stupid. When I think about it, then it's like, it's so embarrassing. But at that moment, I didn't think much of it. When I think about it now, I feel bad for my mom because my dumbass made her look stupid. And the manager comes out. It was like a blonde guy. I remember he had like a blue shirt on, and he comes out with the spray pan oil, like kind of like Pam, kind of. I think it's called Pam. And he sprays my hand. He goes, all right, kid. He goes, I'm going to spray this on you. It's not going to hurt. It's just going to help you loosen your hand. He sprays the oil on my hand, and then within a few tugs, bam, my hand's out. My mom takes us, and we're out the door. We're out the doors as fast as we are. And I will never forget that day because I was kicking and screaming, and I panicked. And that was a terrible moment in my life, or embarrassing moment / worst moment in my life. I never put my hands where something I knew that it didn't fit in. I never bothered to touch those toys again. But yeah, that was one of the worst experiences of my life. Of another terrible experience or worst moment in my life was when, same age at this time, around 6 or 7. And again, I mentioned earlier, we used to live in these the apartments called Valley Drive or something like that. And the Valley Drive apartments, my cousin Hmong, he was babysitting us, and he came over, and I forgot how old he was at this time, but I know he's probably in his preteens. He's older than I am by like less than 10 years or so, maybe a little bit less than that. He's always, he never really bullied me, but he loved to prank me as a kid. Just to get a reaction out of me, because he knew how oversensitive and emotional I was. So I remember sitting on the floor watching TV, and I forgot what I was watching, but I was just zoned in. My cousin sits next to me. Everything's normal, and then he just pulls my right earlobe. I guess if you do it quick enough, you make the eardrum pop, or you you don't damage the ear, but you do cause some sort of pain. And it was quick. My cousin just bam pops my ear. I'm like, I didn't know how to react to it. I mean, my cousin Limon, he's kind of got that laugh like I do too, where when you laugh at someone, it sounds like you're mocking them. So I think at the time when I was a kid, and he was laughing at me, and he's older than I am too. So like I'm like, shit, I can't do nothing about it. So I just start crying. I go to my room, and I never came out. And I remember that day specifically because I remember him laughing at me specifically. And it's funny because we were just kids, at this time. And I can't, like, oh man, it's funny when I think about it now, like just because, like, imagine if he did that to me still today. We're all old and shit, and he's like pulling on my ear. But yeah, I don't think I ever got him back for that, but I don't think I will, because I don't know how he did it really. He did it so quickly, and it was just like pop, and it hurt for a split second, but because of my over dramatic ass, I made it seem like my ear ripped off my head. But that was a very I guess you could say painful instead of worst or embarrassing moment, but that was very painful. But that is a funny experience. So I will never forget that because my cousin laughed at me. So Limong, if you're listening to this episode, I low-key still hate you for that. But no, it's okay. I love you, man. You should do that to your new half brother that you have. That shit would be funny. Another moment, kind of fast forward in this timeline of mine, right? So I'm in 5th grade. This is a little bit more on the downside when I think about this, because this experience really affected me, and I think in a way it still affects me now, in a both positive and negative way. It's 5th grade. I'm in elementary, and at this time, my grandpa, or my yitzi on my mom's, the grandfather on my mom's side, my yitzi, he's not doing so well. I don't think I've ever spoke about him on the podcast, but my yitzi and I, we had a very, very, very good emotional relationship as grandson and grandfather. And this man was one of the very, very few men in my life that played a big part of me growing up and being just an influence in my life, and me wanting to be the kind of man that he was, even though I'm nowhere near who he is. He was sick. I forgot exactly what he had, but I think one of his major organs had been ruined. He's been sick for a long time, but I forgot exactly what it was. But at this time, my grandfather, he's in the hospital bed, and my parents, my mom, my dad, and I, and my sister, we finally get to Minnesota, and my dad drove 12 hours straight through rain and through like a crazy storm. I still remember this, and like it was just such a last moment trip because my mom knew that we didn't have much time with him left, so we had to go. And when I think back about it, I really do like appreciate my dad for that too, and making those decisions on the fly like that. We get to the hospital, and my grandfather's in the bed. He's strapped down because I forgot why exactly, but he was strapped down. And I remember walking into that room, and it's just him. It's like a 2-bed room. It's a 2-bedroom, but then like it's just him in the corner, and like the curtain was kind of folded over. So we go around the corner, and I see him, and I remember the facial expression that I had. I was like excited because it's my grandpa. I love him, but at the same time, like the reality kicked into where he's in that hospital bed. It's it's painful to see, and I think what really affected me was when the moment I touched his hand, and I could just feel like some sort of swelling on his hand, or like because he was numb, so he didn't have feeling in his hand. So I knew that he really, really wanted to hold my hand, but at the same time, he couldn't feel it. And I think the moment I touched his hand, I just instantly started crying. And what made it worse was that when I saw him, he was crying. And from what my mom says was that throughout that whole time he was in the hospital, he never shed a tear till he saw me. And that right there, to my family in Minnesota on my mom's side, that is proof that I am the favorite. So yeah, I'm sorry. I got bragging rights. Don't hate though. Grandpa loved all of y'all the same. He loved all of us the same, but I was the favorite. I think the close second comes to my cousin Diamond, only because she has a token from my grandpa, and because she grew up with him too, but because they lived in the same house and he raised her too. But she has a token from my grandpa that I tried to buy off of her. I was like, I'll pay you double the amount that you have for what that's worth. I want that. And she's like, no, I found it. It's mine. To this day, I still kind of mess with her about it. Like, I want that, but it's hers. It's fair game. She got it. But just know that I am the favorite grandson on my mom's side of the family. But anyways, I grab his hand. I start crying. My nose starts bleeding. He's crying, and it's so emotional. And it's sad that I was that young when he passed. To this day, I have some sort of regret where I wish I got to spend a lot more time with him. So I only get to see him during the summers or some sort of family event. That impacted me in a way to where it was one of the worst moments in my life, because I really wish I got to spend more time with him. One fun fact that I want to let my fans know is that my grandpa, in a way, low-key was a podcaster, because he would record his audio tapes, like real cassette tapes. Like, he would record himself speaking through these audio cassette tapes. In a way, they were like a will, but then it wasn't. It was a way for him to vent. And because my grandpa's such a silent man, he holds all his emotions in. He doesn't let people get the best of him emotionally. He lets things go, but then, like, I think when he does feel like stressed out, he just goes to his cassette tape and he just talks through the mic and does a podcast. The only thing is he doesn't upload it on the internet like I do. So I do think that maybe in some sort of way I got a little bit of that gift from him to speak to the mic and talk. But I feel like that's the only real common thing I have with him. Besides having like facial hair, I don't have any real resemblance to him or any real character trait from him. I'm the complete opposite of him. I'm over emotional. I'm dramatic. I'm not calm. I get super aggressive, and my grandpa's the opposite of that. So, but again, I do want to say it again. I was the favorite. So yeah. Yeah, on a brighter note here, well, not so bright, but on a less dim note here, freshman year of high school, especially at Centerline High School, I did not know where I was going in high school. It's like Centerline is not like a 2-story building or anything like that, or at least I don't think it is, but it's a very wide building. To get to one side to the other, there's a shortcut called the Breezeway, I believe. And any Centerline alumni that's listening to my podcast, I believe that's right. The Breezeway, where we would cut through from one end to the other end of the school. That way we didn't have to walk all the way around. When you go through the Breezeway, there's 2 entrances, where one is going towards like a hallway full of classes, and another one is towards the gym. And when you go towards the gym, if you turn to the longer hallway, I believe it was Hall H. I think that's what it was called. Hall H is this very long hallway, and I think at the time they just put that spot there. I believe I was going to a Spanish or history class or something like that. And I turned the corner, and like the minute bell rang. And that's the warning for us to get to class, or we will get a tardy. And especially being in high school, and especially being a nerd, I didn't want that blemish on my apparently good school record, but I wish I never took that seriously. But anyways, I turned a corner, I start running, but as I turned a corner, my clumsy ass tripped on the corner of the hallway, like the legit corner, and I fall on my face, and I go face first to the floor, and I have all these heavy ass books on my left hand, so I fall on top of these books. And not only do I fall on these books, I fall in front of a bunch of upperclassmen. Again, like I've said before, I hate looking stupid. So I really look stupid. I'm a nerdy kid. I fall over on top of my books in front of upperclassmen who's laughing at me. And it's a quick laugh. They don't mock me or anything, but, you know, they still laugh at me. And I get up and I go, not realizing that my left arm is all like pulped up and bruised up from landing on the books so hard. That was an embarrassing moment in my life that That was pretty bad. I don't know. I feel like it's not that I can't take getting laughed at, but again, it's the moment that happens. That's why I'm like so aware of like how I look or even how I eat in front of people. I don't know. I'm only comfortable at home. Like if I look like an idiot, I'm only comfortable doing that at home, or if I'm very comfortable with a specific group of friends. I think that's why I'm so self-conscious at times. But anyways, yeah, I fell in front of people freshman year and I never ran in the hallways again. So let's fast forward to senior year of high school. Senior year, I am part of the class of 2011. Now, 2011 was a very decent, semi-decent year for me because at this time in my life, I'm skinny. I'm weighing around 150, 145, 150, and I had to wrestle at 160. I believe I spoke about this story with Jensen Tranny. Shout out to Jensen Tranny because he's been inspiration to me, not just as a content creator or person, but musically. So definitely check out Jensen. A lot of great guitar tutorials. But anyways, with this wrestling match again, I was underweight because I had to bump up to 160 to fill up the spots. So naturally I'm weighing in around 152-ish. I had to wrestle at 160, meaning the guy that I had to wrestle cut weight to 160, meaning that day of the not fight, but that day of the match, he's probably around 170-ish. And this dude was a big guy from East Detroit High School. I remember he looked like he was fresh out of jail. Like he's a stacked dude. He was tall. He was like 6'4", very lean, very cut. I look at my coach, Dave. I'm like, I'm wrestling this guy? Like, really? I look at Dave and Dave looks at me and he gives me this look like, yeah, that's him, go. In this match, I already knew I lost. Just because of the physicality. There was no way I could beat this guy. There was no physical, no technique way to beat this guy. I knew I was done for. I just had to try. So me being fearless, I shoot for a single leg, which I don't know. Why would I shoot a single leg on a dude that's much bigger than I am? I shoot for a single. I lift his leg up. I try to go for an inside trip. And this guy is just so much more athletically better than I am. And at this time when I'm wrestling, I'm not even like stocky or anything. I'm like really skinny. When I was in wrestling, I had really, really good endurance, which I don't have anymore. I'm the complete opposite of that. But just physically, I was not strong. So this guy picks me up. He sprawls first. He sprawls on top. And so I'm on the mat. He sprawls. And because he's so much physically bigger than I am, and I believe he has, and being 6'4", he has longer arms than I do. He picks me up somehow, and when he dips me down, in wrestling, you're supposed to kind of just set them down. If you're going to spike them to the floor, you're supposed to, for safety, put them down and pretty much get on top. Well, this kid decides to just spike me on the fucking floor, and I go head first again to the floor at Centerline because the match was at Centerline High School. I go head first, and I just feel a crack in my neck, and it wasn't a severe injury, but it was a scary sound, and it was a pretty painful injury. It wasn't to where like I was paralyzed or anything, but I believe that kind of just scared me enough to where I couldn't risk getting injuries like that because my neck was sore, but I've never gone in to get it checked, so I probably have some sort of fused disc that I don't even know about. But I was done for. I was like, it's not that I didn't want to wrestle anymore, but I couldn't pursue MMA or pursue wrestling with getting injured by someone that was physically that much bigger than I am. And I love the training, I love the aspect, and I love the discipline, but to go into matches where people who are like physically like that, I was like, yep, I'm done. I cannot risk it. And I mean, there were so many factors too. I mean, like the weight class and all that stuff, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to risk getting hurt, and plus my parents were bitching at me. They were like, if you want to get your ass kicked, we could have just done it for you, and all that stuff that Asian parents do. But that was pretty scary, and that was probably one of the worst moments because I knew at that time, the moment I got slammed, I thought my athletic opportunity was done. At this time too, I really wanted to pursue MMA. At this point, I was so heavy into MMA. I was training every day, training in the backyard of my house, training in the basement of my house because I had like so much gear set up and stuff, and like I was low key getting like trained at the wrestling practice because our coach Dave would have like MMA guys over. I hit the mitts a few times, but the guy who was there, his name's Scott Bickerstaff, that was the MMA guy that was training me or helping me get better with my hands. He really wanted me to be on the team or at least join his gym because he was like, man, you got a good right cross, man. Like you should come join us. And plus, you kind of look like Jason Scott Lee, who is the actor who played Bruce Lee in Dragon. I believe that it was the biopic of Bruce Lee, and he's in the Mulan movie. He's the villain in Mulan, but they said I looked like Jason Scott Lee at the time. And plus, I had like the long hair. I had the long black hair at the time. I was trying to look like F4. If you don't know who F4 is, they're a Cantonese, or not Cantonese, but they're a Mandarin or Taiwanese band from Taiwan, and they were very popular at the time. But yeah, I looked more like Liu Kang than anything. I probably have pictures up still on my personal Facebook. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you can definitely take a look. I think I still have the wrestling pictures up. But yeah, that injury made me more self-aware of how I treat my body physically, and I think from wrestling too, I never had the proper care and proper healing that I should have, because in one of my matches, my shoulder got thrown out too. My right shoulder still aches from time to time, and it doesn't feel the same as my left shoulder. My right shoulder actually feels like it's more, I can't find the word for it, but my left shoulder feels like it's normal, and then my right shoulder feels like it's kind of lower than it should be. It's definitely from that wrestling match and that injury. I remember I had to wear a sling, and my coach was pissed off at that because he really wanted me to wrestle. But we were wrestling like Frankenmuth dudes. If you don't know Frankenmuth, Michigan, those fuckers are bunch of farm boys. They wrestle pigs and cows for a living, so there was no way us suburban kids was gonna go out there and beat them. I think we took like 12th place out of 14 teams that was there. We got destroyed. But yeah, that was pretty bad. Okay, so I'm gonna go back down emotional lane again, because this moment in particular deals with more of the emotional side of the worst feelings ever, or the worst or embarrassing moments in my life. And physically and mentally, I've already been tested through wrestling and just pretty much losing weight and all that. But emotionally, I met this girl, and for her namesake, we'll just call her Blah Blah. So I met Blah Blah, and if you don't know that reference, that's from How I Met Your Mother. But I met Blah Blah, and we hit it off. We were skipping school that day. We watched, I believe that movie was, what was that? It was Yogi Bear with Tom Welling, Anna Faris, and Justin Timberlake as Boo Boo. Hey, Boo Boo. You know, fucking Yogi Bear. We skipped school and we hung out that day. And damn, I hate going down memory lane like this, but this definitely has to be on the podcast for fans to get to know me better. And it's good material, so I'm not going to hold back. But I liked this girl a lot, and I did things that I really regret doing. Like, I was popping pills. I brought her pills. Like, my next door neighbor at the time, he had cancer. He was giving me Vicodins and stuff because like he was trying to be like the cool hookup, or the cool like dude that gives a young kid, you know, prescription drugs. That we got like Vicodin, we got like a bunch of pain killing or numbing drugs and shit like that. Like his prescriptions were pretty strong. And I remember taking them in school near the end of the year, and I was giving those to her for free too, because I was trying to look cool, and I was smoking weed with her. Like, and you got to think, at this time in high school, I'm such a reserved kid. You know, I don't have that kind of experience like I do now, where I'm a little bit more carefree now. But at this time, I'm so reserved. I'm so uptight. But yeah, I was trying to look cool, and I was doing all these things for her. And then every guy who gets friend zoned or gets put in the phone as free food, that's what I was. I was free food. Pretty much, I would go hang out with her, pick her up, drive her around. We spend a lot of time together. But you know, I was thinking of my dick at this time. You know, like I was such a immature 18-year-old who thought that I could finally get a girlfriend, and I was trying to be cool and be like, yeah, I do this, I do that. And really deep down, I wasn't like that. I was just trying to get a girlfriend. And I don't know what it was about this girl that, like, when I really look back at it now, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because I never had a girlfriend before, and I was just in a rush to be like, I finally got one. It's a miracle. And that's how bad I was in with the girls in school. I was terrible. And even now, I'm still like somewhat bad. It just, now I don't care how I look anymore. Like, or at least I don't care about how I look in front of girls anymore, because I could care less. But at this time in high school, I was just, especially it's the end of senior year. I had got my own car. I have a job. I was doing my own thing, and at the end, I just became free food to this bitch. I don't know. Is it me too if I call her a bitch? But okay, but she was blah blah was a bitch. So I just end up looking stupid for this girl. Oh my God. Like when I look back at it now, like it got so bad emotionally. I was distraught. I was fucked up. I screwed some friends over. I took relationships with other friends that I had for granted. If I can go back today and tell myself back then now, I'm like, bruh, you could have done so much better had you just stay in wrestling and pursue a sport career, or fuck, even try to be a YouTuber at that time. Because in high school, I was trying to be a YouTuber like Timothy Delgado, and even now I'm still trying to do that. But oh my God, when I look back at it, I just feel stupid. But anyways, I was free food to this bitch, and I believe her boyfriend, I don't know if they're still together because I've never kept in touch after that, but her boyfriend at that time, his name was, what was his name? Like Russ or something like that. Some white boy name. And he was a young kid too, but he was dumb. He was a dumb kid. But then I give him props though, because he had like a towing company. So he would drive his towing truck around and pick her up, and they'd hang out too. And I'm definitely, like, I was like, okay, I'm stupid for that. So I remember I was just so head over heels for this girl, and like her boyfriend confronted me and was like, you should back off before I kick your ass. You know, I never spoke with her ever again. And I think there was one point to where like it was just bad though, because I was just so foolish. I thought that there was something there, and I ended that friendship pretty quickly and haven't seen blah blah since. Who knows what she's doing right now? Probably selling drugs or something. If I ever run into blah blah again, that'll be a story for the fucking podcast. But yeah, so that was a terrible, terrible moment in my life. And compared to the other moments that I've had, they're not so bad compared to that. And so this last moment in my life is a more funnier one. And I do want to end on a funnier note too, because, you know, this emotional shit, and make fun of me for that. Don't feel bad for me, make fun of me for it, because I was fucking stupid. But this last moment here, it was my 24th birthday. I can't even say it with a fucking straight face, because if I say it, I'm gonna start fucking laughing. It was my 24th birthday. I was in Texas with my cousins, my cousin Bobby, my cousin Stephanie, my cousin Mel, Danny, Warren, Steve, his girlfriend Lisa, and like, you know, we were all together for my 24th birthday. I was getting lit. I pre-gamed at my cousin Stephanie's house. I forgot what we drank. We drank like Patron, other tequilas, and because that's all they really drink on there is tequila and some other stuff. But we were pretty lit for the pregame, and then we go pregame again at my cousin Steve's house. Now my cousin Steve, he had like this liquor, it was like mixed with jalapenos, or it had like jalapeno flavoring or something like that. And his girlfriend Lisa gives it to me. She's like, happy birthday, Ricky, here you go. And I drank it. That's one of very few drinks I remember, because I honestly don't remember getting to my cousin Steve's house. And I don't remember getting to the karaoke bar. So I remember, if I look back at this story, I remember bits and pieces. Even to this day, I don't remember much, because that's how fucked up I got. But we were in the karaoke bar, and we were sitting in the lounge area or whatever. And I was sitting on the couch. My cousin Michael singing Alicia Keys. What song was he singing? It was by Alicia Keys though. If I Ain't Got You. He was singing that because I remember him saying, Ricky, I'm singing a song for you. He's one of the cousins in our family that's a very talented like artist too, like as a singer. And he finally was singing something, and I slept on the couch, and they rushed me out. I get back up, and I'm running into like all these other friends that my cousins have. My cousin Bobby, his roommate Belky, and their friend Tan comes by, and they buy me a drink, and fucking Belky gave me a Ruppelmints shot. I believe that's what it was, a Ruppelmints, because I remembered that part of the night where he was like, just drink it, Ricky. And it smelled like mint. I'm like, what is this? He goes, just drink it. I'm not telling you what it is. I bought it already. Just drink it. And I drink it. And that fucked me up. Like, that drink fucked me up. And it was all hell from there, because I get dragged to my cousin Matthew's car. And till this day, I regret this. And I feel so bad. And I know he still kind of low-key hates me for this. Sorry, Matthew, but I threw up in his car in the backseat. And my sister's boyfriend, Steven's sitting with me. He's trying to control me, and then I just threw up. And he freaks out because I threw up. I believe I threw up on his shoes, too. I just threw up all over myself, and it was bad. And until this day, they still make fun of me for it. And if I bring it up to my cousin Matt, he gets mad. So sorry, Matt, for putting the story on the podcast, but I have to do it. I have to say it. I threw up in the car, and it's bad. I feel so bad. That's why I bought my cousin and his wife an autograph from Stephen Amell, who plays Green Arrow, because to kind of pay them back to kind of say sorry for that. And plus, I think that year, my cousin Matt, his wife Maria, she graduated from school, so I bought that for both of them. Had Stephen Amell sign that for both of them, and hopefully that makes up for it. But if not, I'll try my best to get a shout out or an autograph from another artist to you guys. But I throw up in the car, and then they take me to my cousin Stephanie's house, and she has a big house, so they drag me in. Her husband Long, one of the nicest people in our family, one of the best, I guess you can say. In the Hmong family, it's Yi Long or Yi, which is brother-in-law anyway. So he took care of me. He cleaned me up, washed my clothes. They set me in the bathtub to wash up. But then I guess they kind of realized oh shit, he can't even clean himself up right now. And they were afraid that I was going to drown in the bathtub. To put it vividly, I was butt-ass naked. And they had to carry me out of the tub, and my sister's boyfriend, Steven, he's like, I will never forget that day, Ricky, because I saw you butt ass naked. And oh man, they got so much dirt on me for this. They're gonna make fun of me forever. And he pretty much takes me, and thank you to Steven too for even putting up with me, because at that time you were having a somewhat rough night too, and I just made it worse by being such a slob on my birthday. And they take me to the guest room, they leave me there. In the morning I wake up butt ass naked in the bed. I thought I was in the wrong house, my head is spinning, and pretty much the day after my birthday I was hungover the whole day, and it literally was the whole day from morning till night. I was hungover. And yeah, that's how I celebrated my 24th birthday. And that is why you don't go buck wild on your birthdays. And that is one of the worst but funniest things that's happened to me. Now, if you have any experiences similar to mine or anything that was worse, please contact me on popluckpodcast@gmail.com. Message me on Instagram at RickyVang92, or comment your story below in the comments on YouTube, or even on SoundCloud if you listen on SoundCloud, but YouTube for sure. Subscribe to Spoiler Force Podcast on YouTube, please. I like to get my numbers up because I'm almost at 400. I'm 6 people away from 400, so please share that on YouTube. And yeah, these are some of the stories that I've been through that was embarrassing, worst moments, hilarious, sad, pitiful. I just wanted to share that because, not everything in life is bad. And I think this is a good life lesson for not just me, or not for just the fans, but for me, to not trip about things that don't go the way that I want in my life. And this is a good way to share this experience. And even now, literally, as I'm speaking right now into my microphone, I feel a lot more relief. I feel a lot better. Again, like I said, podcasting is so therapeutic. Yeah, these are some of the experiences that I've been through. And again, share your stories on YouTube. Message me on Facebook at Popluck, or if you know me personally on Facebook, message me your story. And if you don't mind, let me know, please. I would love to share them on the podcast and react to them as well. And this has been another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. This is episode 43. Okay, so just to kind of give another recap of what's next. Next Sunday, I have Jerry Lee of Baymong podcast. I have Jerry Lee of Baymong Productions and Van Brooks coming back for the second time on the podcast. March 15th. Let me look at my calendar here. So March 8th, Jerry Lee of Baymong Productions and Van Brooks coming back the second time. I have Chinchilla next on March 15th. He is part of Wayne ENC. Is it Wayne ENC? You don't pronounce the G right, so it's Wayne, like Bruce Wayne. Wayne ENC and Fax News. He is also dating Kalia Universe, who is one of the top Hmong artists right now. So shout out to that power couple right there. And then the week after that, the 22nd of March, I have Kenji Her on the podcast. And again, check out Kenji, please, because he is a legit singer. He's amazing. He's being slept on, as they would say. Again, this is Spoiler Force Podcast. Thank you for listening, and have a good day. enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, follow, like, share, comment, and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. For comments, questions, concerns, and criticism, you can email Spoiler Force Podcast at popluckpodcast, popluckpodcast@gmail.com, or contact me personally on Instagram.com/RickyVang92, RickyVang92.